starting. In 1964, after the Gulf of Tonkin, Lyndon Baines Johnson declared war in Vietnam. In 1964, after the Gulf of Tonkin. Whoa, that was stupid of me. So yeah, after the Gulf of Tonkin, America went to war in Vietnam and decided to go right to business. And now I'm going to, then Hollywood also came about, and they entered into the war effort. And the first film that they show is a film called A Yank in Vietnam. I will show the trailer real quick. I've never seen this film, so it might be new to all of us. And we are having Joey, JP, and Nate. So let me just show this. Is it?
Nature of special operations, nor the requirements of counterinsurgency.
All right.
From the beginning.
Sorry, folks. The trailer is not playing, and I want to. And gosh darn it, it was sharing for a while. Let me share. No. All right, folks. So I gotta, Joey. Is there a way? Well, gosh darn it, I was, and now it stopped doing that again. So let me see if I can stop sharing screen. Share screen. Okay. Here we go. Allow. Sorry, folks. A little technical difficulty. And I'm going to show this is a Yank in Vietnam.
Nature of special operations, nor the requirements of counterinsurgency. From the beginning, MACV viewed the Berets' involvement in the CIDG program as too static.
Well, in '64, actually, when it begins, there's a decision to use special forces as a long-range reconnaissance mission.
All right, this does not seem like a really decent trailer. I'm going to go back here, and this is Operation CIA, which was Burt Reynolds.
Saigon, a country torn by revolution, where even the mundane becomes deadly. Taxi! Well, that's all that's left of Stacy. A man is sent to this crippled capital. It's hot-blooded Burt Reynolds as Mark Andrews, CIA. But the spy business isn't all that's on his mind.
When do I get my briefing on the country, the customs, the people? It's been taken care of. And Andrews, let's keep our mind on our work.
His assignment, to uncover and smash a communist plot.
How much do you know about the assassination?
What assassination?
Of the American ambassador. Well, down here it says American Embassy. Floor plan.
Looks like it'd be some kind of an air conditioning unit to me. We better get out of here.
So are we allowed to commentate over the video at any point?
Yeah, actually you can commentate. That was more, by the way, that was more of a, that was actually, in my opinion, much more of pro-Vietnam, and it was much more of a cloak and dagger kind of thing. Do you want to?
So it's propaganda, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly. I mean, in 1965, America would never have made any kind of anti-war film. Even on a small, low budget, they would not have done that in 1965.
Listen, as terrible as I think that sort of thing is, it has a charm to it. That 50s era. Yeah, it's less so looking at propaganda for me now, and it's just watching the absurdity of old movies, dude. Just the weird, stunted sort of acting they hadn't really gotten used to till like the 70s, maybe the 60s, you know? And just like the social differences. I can't remember what film this was. I was watching this old black and white film. I think it was from the 40s, right?
Yeah.
And they've got this black guy in their group to just carry all the stuff, right? and the cliff starts breaking up. He falls off the side to his death. And all the white folk look over the side of the mountain. They're like, "Oh no, our stuff is gone."
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I mean, look. I mean, I think I'm going to do something with regards to propaganda and films and how myth is made, and myth is made today as well. There's a lot of people that say the movie, the book that the movie 12 Years a Slave, that book is a myth. It's I guess you would call it's a forgery. We also know that Roots was also plagiarized, and the whole stuff of him in Africa was completely completely false.
There's a whole lot to get into when it comes to propaganda and how its use in film and how it corroborates with some of the mainstream news, politics, military industrial complex, just the whole thing. Is definitely more than a show.
Now I wanted to one of the first films and it kind of dealt with the coming home of Vietnam. This was 1968's Targets. That was Peter Bogdanovich's, I believe, his directorial debut.
I don't think I saw this, so
this was actually pulled after, because it was shortly after, or like it was during the time of the Kennedy and the King assassination. So this was something that may have been pulled. Anyway, let's show the trailer for this.
We thank you for the food we're about to receive on the Lord's name.
A typical American family at dinner. Mom and Dad, their beautiful daughter-in-law, and their only son, Joe, a homicidal maniac.
Harry! What are you doing? How's your dad? It's okay. Here you go. Thanks a lot. What you hunting this time? We're gonna shoot some pigs.
Targets, a movie about a war inside a man's camp.
Hey, what are you doing?
Peter Bogdanovich, the director of The Last Picture Show, takes you for a roller coaster ride through the canyons of a disturbed mind in Targets.
Easy down! Oh, somebody's shooting on it! In the window! Roll your windows down! There's a sniper in
What turns an all-American boy into an all-American killer?
Now, yeah, that film, by the way, and it didn't get released, I think, until about 1973, because they held it up due to the fact of the assassinations, but that dealt with the after effects of war, and a lot of the people that were in the military were not fit. They had really lowered the standards. They had a thing called McNamara's morons, and a lot of these people were mentally unfit and normally would not have passed through. And there was a person who had, I forget his name, but he was in Texas. He had done a mass shooting, and I don't know if he was a Vietnam vet or not, but he was a Marine. And I forget. For the life of me, I forget his name. Anybody have any comment on that?
Not yet.
Other than that was sort of hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty fucking funny.
How was it fun? Just out of curiosity.
Because like it's a 60s film, right? Everyone's in the nice neighborhood. It could be like a fucking sitcom, right?
Yeah.
They've got the narrator, then all of a sudden they're like, and he's a fucking murderer, and he just starts shooting everyone in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
And that was considered shocking at its time. And
yeah. That's the funny thing about movies back then is like when horror and shock started to ramp up in like the early 70s, people hadn't seen anything like that before. So they could trick people into thinking it was real, right? This has been the case with like several horror movies. Wes Craven's first movie, what was that film called again? The Last House on the Left.
Oh, that film is brutal, even for today. But
we would know it's fake today. People back then were like, "Oh shit, this is real."
Yeah, no, you're right on that. Although I think we're going to do a movie show, and we'll do like I think we might just do a short how films changed, how the standards changed, and things like that. And this Vietnam film stuff will show to a degree how the standards have changed. Now this we're going to get to the Green Berets. This was like when Hollywood did a major we're a major studio. Just took the Vietnam War, and this was a very divisive film, but it was very popular amongst conservatives. And this is John Wayne's The Green Berets. Let's show a little trailer here.
Fighting soldiers from the start. John Wayne! Fearless men who jump and die. Men who mean just what they say. David Jackson! The brave men of the Green Berets. Hello, Ray! 100 men who has to dare. Sim Jack! Only free with the Green Berets.
I found him. His name is Ban Sun Ti. And I will give him to you.
Am I supposed to see the video?
Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I can't see the video.
Really?
Yeah.
Joey, is that you know what? Why in the hell is that not?
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Oh man, this is well, you know what? Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let me see here. It says
I wonder.
So does it show the video screen changing at all or no?
No, right now it's a YouTube page that says "Go tell the Spetsnaz trailer."
Spartans, yeah.
You're sharing the wrong thing.
Spartan.
No, but it does show that I'm sharing, like when I'm clicking on it, but it doesn't show any of that. Like it doesn't show.
Odd.
Unbelievable. Let me see here. Go to first by coming home. Let's see. Where's Go Tell the Spartans on this thing? Berets. So I guess I gotta go just First Blood, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket. Let me see here if it's on this. Wait, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Here it. I'm sorry. It was. I should have been here. That'll click out of. Sorry, folks. Okay, here we go. We'll do it.
This
here.
wouldn't have happened if he was running the program.
Yeah.
Fighting soldiers from the start. John, wait! Fearless men who jump and die. Men who mean just what they say. David Jackson! Brave men of the Green Berets. Hello, Ray! 100 men who has to dare. St. Jack! Only free with the Green Berets. Queen!
I found him. His name is Bansun T. And I will give him to you
When?
1 week from tonight at the Ocosta plantation.
Do you trust her?
Of course. She's my brother's wife.
You don't go back without the general.
Their elite corps commando.
All right, you kind of get the idea here. This was very pro-Vietnam, and there is a person whose father was both a Korean and Vietnam War veteran. I am putting the feelers out for her, which is Debbie. She wants to come and join our show.
Yeah, there were very few Korean War films. Why do you think that was, Brian? And what's the perspective overall that came through with Korean War films?
You know what? I mean, there were quite a few, but they all, many of them, most of them, I believe, lost money, with the exception of MASH. I think with the exception of MASH was the only Korean War film that actually made money. And there's so much they can do with that movie. I mean, like, Hollywood has not visited the Korean War in over 40 years since the movie Incheon. But I
feel like lots of this art towards the end, right, when you start getting to films like Full Metal Jacket, sort of exists to emphasize the point that war is hell, right?
Yes.
This sort of is similar in some ways to me, the way I view it, to Nietzsche's philosophy, right? It can be sort of nihilistic depending on what your definition of nihilism is. To me, nihilism is sort of like moral anti-realism, right? It's the idea that there is nothing objective morally, right? There is no objective purpose, and that is something subjectively we have to find for ourselves, right? And so the way I see that in art like Full Metal Jacket is it just shows that maybe there really isn't a reason for this war. You never really see a good outcome to it in those films. It was just barbarity that ultimately led to almost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree.
Right. And in film, that was probably very much in contrast with the idealistic 50s and before, everything that came before it.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of jump to, because after that, I mean, they didn't do too many Vietnam War films, and they did a few, and I was going to mention The Boys of Company C, which actually came out before The Deer Hunter, and they did also Go Tell the Spartans. And I'm going to be honest with you here. I don't think Go Tell the Spartans was that good of a film, and it's not like, to me, any kind of buried treasure. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to try this 1 minute trailer of the Deer Hunter, and that really got off on Vietnam War films. So I'm going to play, and this was when, the Vietnam War started to become where it was kind of a tragedy. And I'm going to play the 1 minute trailer to that. See if this is you say this is an official trailer. Let's take a look at this.
One shot is what it's all about. It has to be taken with one shot. I don't think about one shot anymore. The whole thing, it's crazy. You want to play games? All right, I'll play you games. Ow!
Now, did anyone here see? That movie, The Deer Hunter? Comment on that.
I actually haven't seen it. It's actually one of the films that's on my watch list that I've never gotten around to.
I found I'm going to be very honest with you. I found the film to be rather slow in parts, and it's not. To me, it's not one of the better ones.
Yeah, it definitely gives off sort of like a Taxi. What's that? Fuck, the Martin Scorsese film.
I actually like. Have you seen Taxi Driver, by the way?
Yeah, I have. I was gonna say that like the camp and the pacing seems very similar to that movie.
You consider Taxi Driver to be campy.
Yeah, in some areas. I don't know. The 70s movies to me have this sort of surreal feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's at this weird middle point where they hadn't like perfected the craft to the point where they can make everything super sharp, pristine, and clean. But they had gotten to the point where it was convincing. But that layer of that not having that sharpness, having that grit, it sort of gives it this otherworldly fever dream feel. But at the same time, it feels very real. Because like in a real confrontation, right? It's not going to be like a clean cut. They're shooting back and forth, cinematic thing, right? It's got to be people are fumbling around like fucking idiots, reaching for whatever they can. And those movies just sort of really encapsulate that feeling to me.
Well, I think for me, the late 60s and early 70s is a time, and even throughout some of the 70s was a time when you got a real earthy, realistic, like where it was realistic. And I don't think they've recaptured that. And I think
there is one film that is sort of recaptured that feeling to me.
Which
not exactly. It's actually a foreign film. It's City of God.
Yes, you are correct in that. I think to a degree, Nate, that films before that time were kind of too mythological. You know, they talked about the myth of America, and the charge of the cavalry, and then in the 1970s it got really real and really truthful, and then to a degree. Right now, I think the films are just too woke, and they're not real. They're kind of they're preachy. They're preachy in the same way that films of the 1930s and the 1950s were. You know,
kinda, but we saw lots of this in like the 60s.
To a degree,
but we had Star Trek, which had like the first interracial couple kiss on screen.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is you had a level of reality, and I'll get into that. What kind of reality you had in the 60s and 70s that you don't have today? I mean, you could never do the Death Wish of '74 to the Death Wish. I think it was 2007 to the Death Wish of the '70s is not the Death Wish of the 2000s. Anyway, let's go to this one. Deals with the coming home. of Vietnam vets and their trauma coming home and the injuries that they. Oh, I'm sorry. Debbie was being ignored. I invited you on, Debbie. Okay.
You're invited. You should be in here, Debbie.
Is Debbie the person who was on earlier, or is this a different one?
No, this is a different one. Her father was actually in Vietnam and in Korea.
Interesting.
All right, so I'm going to play a clip from Coming Home. I want to mention, by the way, there is a very saucy scene in this film, and it was, I'll dwell that for later. I don't want to even, but there's a backstory.
Time it was, and what a time it was.
All right, so that basically, John Voight is a wheelchair bound vet or wheelchair stricken vet, been wounded, and he's seeing Jane Fonda cheating on him with Bruce Stern. I don't, I remember I saw this a long time ago. I liked it. I would go further into it. The things that I liked in there that I just watched over and over again. Joey,
yeah, I saw that when I was a kid.
I did too. It was and I remember it being very good, and I remember John Voight's performance being very good, and it dealt with the tragedy of war. Nate, did you see Coming Home?
No, I've never even heard of this film.
Really?
Yeah.
How about Midnight Cowboy, the movie he was in before this film?
Yeah.
Midnight Cowboy is a great movie. Definitely check it out.
I don't believe so. No.
But I dig.
No, I have not. 1969 drama.
That's a great film, by the way.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. One of our favorites. Brian and I share that one. We would love that movie.
Damn. Maybe we should just make movie discussions for episode. You could probably focus in on one very long or complex movie and get a shit ton of content out of that.
Brian is basically an encyclopedia when it comes to old movies. His dad was a filmmaker, and it's pretty great. We used to do a lot of movie films way back when, and I encourage more of it as well. You could really take apart any film and talk about it all night if we wanted to.
Yeah. So we're going to do okay. And then after all that, actually, you know what? Let me kind of go back on that because I want to deal with, and then the last film that dealt with kind of the serious, the seriousness was Apocalypse Now. Did either one of you? Now, Joe, you've seen, yeah. And some people would call this actually the best Vietnam movie ever made. I'm one of those who disagrees with that, and I'm going to show the official trailer of Apocalypse Now.
Oh yes. I did read a little bit about this film before I came on, and what you're hearing right now is something that's very common in a lot of Vietnam era films, and that's the use of helicopter blade noises. Right, this is a very common trope among this genre, and it can represent multiple different things. Right, it can sort of symbolize some sort of delirium the characters face. It could be attributed to all
Yeah.
the awful
Okay.
bombing runs that going on. But
Oh yeah. So when did you see this film, or have you seen this film, or just this?
I have not. I've just read about it, and I recognize that this is a something that I think this film may have popularized. That's very common in Vietnam era films.
Yeah, the bombing and
Not just the bombing. It's really the use of the helicopter blade noises. It's a very common sound effect that's in lots of these films, and it can be used symbolically for many different things.
yeah. Now this is another trailer to it.
You've heard of Colonel Walter E. Kurtz? Your mission is to terminate the Colonel's command.
Terminate. Terminate with extreme prejudice.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Holy shit, guys. Can I just say, you get a little pause here, sort of lagging and shit. Is this a 4K restoration? I wonder how they did that.
Oh yeah,
Lots of new. Holy shit, that's loud thunder outside. Guess it's a fucking storm.
There we go.
That's probably why my internet's out. I'm on my phone's internet.
Oh.
I know with lots of these things, what's become very common is like you can use AI to upscale shit. So I wonder if they ran this through that like an interpolator, and basically what that does, right? You take two frames that are side by side, and it generates a in between image, and then it puts it all together to make it overall look smoother, so it can run in higher frame rates, and you can upscale the actual video footage with that type of technology too.
Yeah. So we'll go into this real quick, and then let's So let's play this clip real quick. We'll continue this with Apocalypse Now.
Very obviously, he has gone insane.
This is the end. My only friend. The end.
Are you an assassin? I'm a soldier.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many different cuts of that film, and that was the last kind of like where it was like a serious Vietnam War film for a while, and then it was. Let me see here. And then it was this film right here. I mean, is this 82 or 85? Okay. This was the kind of this film started the kind of what people would call the comic book era of the Vietnam. It was kind of, Sylvester Stallone was kind of a John Wayne type anti-hero. And this is a trailer to First Blood. Now, my father actually tried to option the book of First Blood, and it was a little bit different, somewhat different than the movie. And the things that he would I gathered is there was kind of a competition. I mean, kind of a different ideology between the Vietnam War veterans and the Korean and World War II veterans. There was a kind of a different type of mentality. I'm going to play this clip from First Blood, Sylvester Stallone.
John Rambo, a drifter, just passing through their town.
Morning! Headed north or south?
North.
Now jump in. I'll make sure you head in the right direction.
You got someplace I can eat around here?
There's a diner about 30 miles up the highway.
Is there any law against me getting something here?
Yeah, me. I want you to book this gentleman for vagrancy, resisting arrest, carrying a concealed weapon.
They knew he was innocent.
Starting to dislike you. A lot.
And they didn't give a damn.
That's okay, Warren. Don't worry about the soap. He's tough. Just shave him. Try. Don't move. I don't want you to catch your own throat.
John Rambo, one man who's been pushed too far.
You're finished! You've got as far as you're gonna go! Straight for the top. Right on top. There's no way out of here except through us.
He was hunted. Trapped.
There he is! On the cliff!
And forced to fight back. Don't push it. Up. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Diesel, you and all your men couldn't handle him before. Now, what makes you think you can handle him now?
Because God knows what damage he's prepared to do.
You don't seem to want to accept the fact that you're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
You send that many, don't forget one thing. A good supply of body bags.
Sylvester Stallone. This time, he's fighting for his life. First Blood.
Here's a trailer.
Yeah, I have seen this film. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and what did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. I thought it tackled some subject matter that was pretty unique to the Vietnam War in particular in that era. And that was the treatment of veterans, right? We still have issues regarding veterans. We have a homeless veteran crisis.
Yes.
They more often than not develop some forms of like PTSD or mental trauma.
Yeah.
But at that time, when they came back, there was lots of protests, right? And they made it clear they weren't exactly welcome, right? They, as Rambo said in the film, they called him a baby killer.
Yes. And yeah, that's kind of what the, a lot of Vietnam War veterans kind of felt. My father, now he was not in Vietnam, but when he left for Germany, he did not keep his uniform, because you get to keep your uniform, I guess. He did not want to, show up in his uniform or keep his uniform, and a lot of people didn't want the hassle and even be in their uniform. It's kind of the way that police officers are demonized today. Vietnam veterans are treated the same way to a degree. So let's go to this was Rambo First Blood Part 2. And
this is just when it got like absurd, right?
And this is turned into a comic book. And let's take a look here.
Have you ever seen the Charlie Sheen parody of Rambo?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
26 June 69. Accepted Special Forces. Helicopter and language qualified. Expert in light weapons and guerrilla warfare. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. Rambo's the best combat vet I've ever seen. His mission, to locate American POWs in Vietnam. Think you'll find someone? POWs? No. His orders, not to engage the enemy. He's got 36 hours to complete the mission and reach the extraction point. We're going down. You're not going anywhere. I'm telling you to abort. Double-crossed and left behind enemy lines. You're the one who's making a mistake. Yeah, what mistake? Rambo. And now he's getting out any way he can.
This movie was, and correct me if I might be confusing it with the Harrison Ford film, but this movie was a huge block, like considered a blockbuster.
Oh, yeah, no, it was huge. It was huge.
This is when people would wrap around the movie theaters just to get in. It was amazing. It was an amazing time to go to movie theaters.
Yeah, you don't really get that nowadays. I haven't seen more than like 20 people in a theater room.
Yeah. Gosh darn it. Yeah, and basically there were people who didn't really feel that good about
Brian. What was changing the most in the narrative with these now moving into Rambo? In my opinion, it became less about this kind of dark, more kind of realistic, psychological narrative to big bombs blowing up and these kind of graphic visuals, bloody messes and achieving the impossible. But what do you think was being told here?
Well, the thing of it is, for whatever reason, I mean, and I remember Cisco and Ebert were talking about because they did a whole slew after that of copycat films about the. And I think actually Chuck Norris might have done one even before that, and there was also Gene Hackman also did a film, Missing in Action, and I forget all the name, but they did all these missing in action films where they were saving POWs in Vietnam, and it kind of became kind of cartoonish, and Oliver Stone, who was a Vietnam vet, and other Vietnam veterans also felt rather exploited by these films, and they felt that they didn't really tackle the issue. And Platoon, I think, is the only film that is told which was made by a Vietnam veteran's, point of view. Like it was, the film was made by a Vietnam veteran. Joe, I imagine you saw this film, and what did you think when you first saw it? I saw it as an adolescent. Blew me away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. At the movie theaters for sure.
I still think, for me, it is the best Vietnam War film ever made. Nate, did you see this movie?
This movie was so big and good, so good. I remember seeing it with friends, and it was nonstop. We would quote it to each other at school, and we were always quoting it to each other. It was so good. It was so into the, yeah.
I know parts and bits of the movie. I've never seen the full thing. I've seen clips here and there. What I know about the movie is there's a platoon of soldiers in Vietnam, and then there's some asshole named like Sergeant Barnes who just progressively gets to become more of a dickhead.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. There is a what there is it's a battle between two sergeants. One is still kind of pro Vietnam. But it's. Let me just show the trailer, and then we'll go from there.
We've been kicking other people's asses for so long, I figure it's time we got ours kicked. What happened today is just the beginning. We're gonna lose this war.
If you're gonna get killed, it's better to get it in the first few weeks. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm so tired. I think I made a big mistake coming here.
We're going back into that NBA bunker complex tomorrow.
Scoop's a lot smarter than you think. I'm out there as the beast. He's hungry tonight.
Shut up! Take the time! You don't sleep on no fucking ambush. Lieutenant! What, did you do something? What are you talking about? Oh, you lie! I'm talking down these days! Mark! You know what I'm talking about. No, I don't. Wait, what, you piece of shit!
Sometimes I just look at a guy, and I know this fella's not gonna make it.
You wanna know what's going on there? With your fucked up formation!
Maybe I finally found it. Way down here in the mud. Maybe from down here I can start up again. Be something I can be proud of.
He's a human being, man!
Stars. There's no right or wrong in them. They're just there.
I don't know, brothers. But I'm hurt real bad inside. Death? You all know about death. Everybody gotta die sometime. All you got to do is make it out of here.
All right.
No, you want to? Okay.
All right. Too much of these clips gets really boring really quick.
I'm sorry. Maybe they did. Yeah.
We just have to use our that OSM or whatever, but it doesn't look good. So
yeah.
But the progression is obvious. Like what's going on.
I'll do one more, and that would be Full Metal Jacket. That's the one that everybody quotes and talks about. The one thing that made Full Metal Jacket great, in my opinion, was the drills. I mean, like the basic training. Joe, I imagine you also saw Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of the director, and it was definitely an amazing cinematic film. I mean, just the quality of it was great. I found it to be more intriguing than a lot of war movies I'd seen up until then.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
And so let's go. We'll go to and I won't show the whole trailer. I'm just going to go to a little bit of it, and then we'll go through that. I just wanted to people wanted to, and I started up on this, so we're going to go with Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick's amazing war film.
Oh, yeah.
Parris Island, South Carolina, the United States Marine Corps Recruit Depot. An 8-week college for the phony tough and the crazy brave.
There's a quick delay. I'm not even seeing it.
Oh, you know what? Let me see here. Gosh darn it. Sorry.
Yeah, you're on the wrong thing.
I'm on the wrong damn page. Oh, sorry about that. That sucks. Always.
But Stanley Kubrick, I think, was basically, I mean, it's hard to say when he peaked, but this, I mean, his career was so amazing. But yeah, this one was amazing.
Let's go here for Full Metal Jacket. Okay, it's taking a while to.
Parris Island, South Carolina, the United States Marine Corps Recruit Depot. An 8-week college for the phony tough and the crazy brave.
4212, basic military journalism. You think you're Mickey Spillane?
Sir, I wrote for my high school newspaper, sir.
I hate the name, Joker. I want to go out to the field.
You wasted your first day in the field, and it'd be my fault.
Joker, you will take off that button. How's it going to look if you get killed wearing a peace symbol?
What is that you got written on your helmet? Born to kill, sir. You write born to kill on your helmet and you wear a peace button. Would you love your country?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you jump on the team and come on in for the big win?
I'm squad leader.
Or anywhere, scumbag.
All right, so that is Full Metal Jacket. Now, Nate, have you seen Full Metal Jacket? Did you see?
Yes, I have seen Full Metal Jacket.
And what was your opinion on that?
I thought it was a really great film. The first half of the film more often seems to be discussed than the last half of it, where they're actually in combat. Lots of people are way more familiar with the boot camp than the rest of the film.
Yeah. Now, the last film I want to touch on was We Were Soldiers, because it kind of shows, because after 9/11, there became kind of a more patriotic kind of fervor. But I don't know if, actually there came, there was more of a, this film was kind of a patriotic kind of take on the Vietnam War. And it mainly shows, it doesn't show any of the atrocities. It primarily shows how tough military.
Well, this is part of an interesting phenomenon. You can observe this here. I can try and pull it up. But from what I understand, after most wars a country goes through, the suicide rate drops. People on average tend to become a lot happier. And that's because I think people are pack animals, right? And this is a sort of byproduct of that, I think.
That's rather interesting, and maybe we could do a show about suicide. So let's do the official trailer of We Were Soldiers.
Daddy, what is a war?
It's when some people try to take the lives of other people. And then soldiers like your daddy have to, my job to go over there and stop them.
Welcome to the new cavalry. We will ride into battle, and this will be our horse.
Fly into hostile territory, outnumbered 10,000 miles from home. They want to fly with you for some reason. I guess it's because they think you're the best.
I suppose I have a choice in all this.
You sure don't.
I have today ordered to Vietnam 125,000 men. Additional forces will be needed later.
We'll be landing under fire, gentlemen. Men will die. You're going into battle against a tough and determined enemy.
We need illumination on the perimeter. Men are so young. Oh, look at them. See our boys.
What do you think about being a soldier and a father?
I hope that being good at the one makes me better at the other.
When we go into battle, I will be the first to set foot on the field, and I will be the last to step off. But we will all come home together.
Now I'm going to stop it right there. Just I didn't want to go over the whole thing because Joe had said it was boring. But I wanted to say, I don't know if this film was after 9/11, or I think it was after. It was just before 9/11, but it started to become kind of a whatever they wanted to deal with things in a more patriotic way. And this was a film that dealt with the war in Vietnam a little bit more conservatively and more patriotically than before. Now we're completely skeptical. I mean, we're kind of skeptical, or we're on the bandwagon of the war that's raging right now with the Ukraine. A lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon and.
This is very odd. I was actually trying to see if that's true or not, but it seems like there's some inconsistency. On this, it says this is a trailer from 2001. 9/11 happened September 11, 2001.
Yeah, you're right.
This trailer probably came out before the movie, and upon looking up the release date, it was released February 25th of 2002. So, but it was probably in production long before 9/11.
But yeah, and I, so I kind of digress. This film was. America started to have a little bit more of a conservative view, even before 9/11, of the Vietnam War and of war in general. This was kind of. It was it was more serious than the Green Berets, but it didn't, demonize or make the Vietnam War people to be degenerates like they were in kind of Platoon and the like. I mean, to a degree, how can I phrase this? The Vietnam War veteran had been shown as kind of a degenerate, and this movie takes part in the early part of the war in 1965, and it shows the impact of the soldiers, and it doesn't show any of the so-called the atrocities. And actually, Oliver Stone at that time, I think just before 9/11, wanted to do a movie about the My Lai massacre, and it got completely shelved. He also wanted to do a film about Martin Luther King and wanted to show everything that he had done, everything that he was accused of. I mean, just who he was as a man. And that also got shelved. That's kind of the political correctness, the wokeness. They have their heroes now, and they don't want to show them in a bad light, kind of thing. So, anything to add on to this? Did any of you see this film? I saw it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. But yeah, any comment on?
No, I did not see this, but I've only heard good things. Wish I could give a better review than that.
Yeah, now I'm going to say this. Now, my father saw this. He said he saw this film. This was 1969.
The Wild Bunch?
The Wild Bunch. He saw it in a PX in 1969. And this film was actually... There are other films that dealt Bonnie and Clyde was one of the ones that actually dealt with people getting shot, but this was one that really showed what it was like for people to get shot and what different bullet sounds what different bullet sounds sound like. Nate, did you ever see the movie The Wild Bunch?
You're muted if you're not.
Oh, yeah. No, it looks very familiar.
I'll show the trailer.
The Wild West was pretty well tamed by 1913. I saw one just like it in Waco. Hey, Frank, you know what I hear? I hear they got one of those things up north that can fly. That was a balloon, you damned old fool. No, the old man's right. They got motors, wings, go 60 miles in less than an hour. Driven to the border by the irresistible thrust of civilization were the remnants of the breed that had made the West wild. If they move, kill them. The payrolls are harder to get at. The Army rode the railroad now. But there were still a few trails for the kind who'd be cold before they were tamed. They called them the Wild Bunch. Frank had been a gentleman of principle.
Now, I don't want to go too far into that, but that was really the first film that really showed graphic violence, and it showed what it looked like for people to get shot. And my father said he saw this in the PX he said a lot of veterans and supposedly a lot of Vietnam veterans.
Is the PX like the movie theater for soldiers?
Yeah.
It's almost a lost language now.
Yeah. But I don't know how interesting this was, but yeah, there's been a lot of Vietnam War films, and there was even recently. I forget the name of it, but it was with William Hurt and I think Samuel L. Jackson. But they have yet, and I've said this before, they have not tackled the Korean War, or Hollywood at least. There have been Korean filmmakers, but I believe that Hollywood has not tackled the Korean War in over 40 years. The last time that I can remember that Hollywood theatrically made a film was Incheon in 1980. And I guess for me, that is kind of sad because there's a lot to deal with the Korean War film. And yeah, so we see, I mean, to me, I'm trying to put out like how the changes kind of happened during the Vietnam War and how narratives tend to change, during that war. And narratives in general, from Westerns to gangster films, have changed over the years. And sometimes they get a little retro with it. Anything to add before I end this show? I don't know how interesting that was or how informative any of that was. But anything to add before I end this show?
No, not for me.
No, I really would like to get into the propaganda game and really break it down by decades. Some of those, I know I mentioned John Ford earlier. There's a few directors specifically I'd like to kind of get into and discuss their filmographies and get into what was passed back then as fact or very factual or informative information, and over time became recognized more as propaganda. I find that very interesting, but there's a whole lot. That's a whole, at least a show or 10 to do just on that alone.
And let's just be honest here. It was a time where certain narratives never got questioned. You never questioned race. The Civil War was a lost cause. the cavalry were the heroes, the Native Americans were the savages. And now it's now it's kind of completely reversed, where it's the cavalry are the savages and the Native Americans, the noble savage kind of thing is being played out, and there's something in the middle, and it's the 70s is where they kind of made it like real, like the natives were brutal. I mean, the cavalry was brutal, but the natives were also brutal. A film that deals with that is Elzano's Raid. And it shows really the brutality of struggle and survival in the West. And human beings struggle for resources, and sometimes there are no good guys and there are no bad guys. There's just two people struggling for survival, and it's kind of sad on its face. And people try to put a spin and propaganda, and make their country look good and make proud. And I think we got to get to a degree realistic and real. Again, Oliver Stone tried to make a movie about Martin Luther King and show him as the human being that he was, with all the affairs. Martin Luther King was a serial adulterer, a plagiarizing. I think he did plagiarize, and he got mixed up in other things as well. And show him as the human being that he was. And I think we should perhaps stop putting people on pedestals. There's a part of me that says that we should have a holiday for nobody. No human being should have a holiday, because we are a nation of laws, not of men. And I wish it was maybe more that way. Anything to add before I end the show?
Nope.
Joey?
No, I think we covered it somewhat. What's up? Angela's here. What's up? Of course, she's late.
Yeah, right as we end.
And Angela says that's wrong to say savage in the context that I have. I say savage the wrong way.
There's always something wrong to Angela.
Yeah. Did I say savage in the wrong way? I mean, I was saying that they were seen as savage. In our film, in our cinema, that's the way they were portrayed as, and that we were there to civilize them, and we were there to. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, yeah. You know
Bottom feeder, no notifications.
Well, Angela's great. She gives me great information, so and she's funny. What
were you going to say? Did you have anything you were going to say?
You know what? I think I think the next thing that we're going to do is, but I think we'll try to do that, like do it beforehand, and then edit it and stuff. But kind of the history of propaganda in films, and how films are still propagandized. Who's ever in charge, people want to tell a narrative their way. And I'll end on that. So, hey guys, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and visit our website at Transparency and Merit. Also, share the video if you gain anything from it. I don't know how much you gained from this. So.